My name's Angelo, and welcome to Picks Nation. You recognize me from We Want Picks. We are streaming here on Picks Nation. This is our second channel. We are building this up. We have 18,000 plus subscribers on We Want Picks. We're trying to grow this as well, and then we're going to split up some of the content, do some new, cool, different things. So make sure you subscribe to this channel and our regular home of We Want Picks. I'm going to break down the entire UFC 294 fight card, giving you my picks, predictions, and DraftKings plays. But before I do, let's take a look at DraftKings premium membership at We Want Picks. All you need to do is go to WeWantPicks.com, click become a member at the top, and you're going to unlock everything you have ever needed to build a winning DraftKings lineup. We're going to give you all of our cash core plays, our GPP core plays, our live dogs, our leverage plays, and this cheat sheet will be populated every Friday after weigh-ins with the scoring projections, the ownership projections, and the leverage plays. This is quite literally the best data in the game. I don't make it. I pay somebody. They put together these numbers, and we just absolutely blow the doors off of Roto Grinders, Awesemo, and all of the other DFS companies. You're also going to come down here, and we're going to rank every single fighter by salary group, so that when you're going through those salaries and you're trying to find a slot and finish out your lineup, you can see what we have and who we prefer at those price points. You're also going to get an optimizer. This will literally build lineups for you. And it has the data preloaded. That data that I mentioned is better than everybody else's, is preloaded into this. And it's going to build you one lineup. It'll build you 150 different lineups. You click a few buttons. It walks you through it. If you say, what the hell is an optimizer? How do I use it? Well, click this video right here. It'll walk you through exactly how to use it and what to do with it. All of this and so much more that I haven't mentioned, all of this for FanDuel as well, is available to you instantly. Just go to WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member. It is only $10 a month, and it has been wildly successful for our premium members. Our premium members in DraftKings alone over the last 4 months have sent in over $395,000 of winning tickets. Everything from a $500 night, which is a phenomenal night for a lot of people, to a $78,000 night, a $50,000 night, $30,000, $12,000, $29,000. I mean, it's absolutely incredible what our premium members have been able to do with the tools, with the insight, with the information. This $51,000 winning ticket a few months ago said, I really can't believe they even allow you guys to offer these tools. I literally did my lineups this morning. I picked my 3, the optimizer built the rest, and this guy took home $51,000. This is not a coincidence. It's not an accident. It's only $10 a month because we're in the volume business. We almost have 3,000 premium members. I literally want 10, 15, 20,000 premium members so I can retire and just do the entertainment stuff with Jakey Boy. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. Let's go ahead and jump in. We have 13 fights on this card. This is actually what I think is an easy betting card. Lots of favorites, lots of guys that should absolutely dominate, but a very tricky DFS card because when you think all the favorites are going to win or most of the favorites are going to win, now you have to find some underdogs to round out your lineup. So what we're going to do here is we're going to try to find the best underdogs, and we're going to try to avoid the biggest landmine favorites that may shit the bed and screw up your lineup. Opening up the UFC 294 card is a straight-up banger. Sharabutdin versus Bruno Silva. Sharabutdin making his UFC debut here. He has a lifetime worth of striking martial arts backgrounds, right? Tons of kickboxing, tons of Muay Thai. He's been competing since he was a teenager at the striking arts, and that's what he is. He is a striker. You're going to see the hair, the beard, the mustache, the last name, and you're going to assume he's a wrestler. He's not a wrestler. His wrestling actually kind of sucks. Takedown defense is okay, though, but he's devastatingly dangerous on the feet. He is fighting Bruno Silva. Bruno Silva basically got his biggest name. He got a couple of nice knockouts. Then he went the distance with Alex Pereira. People are like, wow, shit, Bruno Silva's super tough. Bruno Silva can hang with the scariest striker in the division. And then he lost to Gerald Meerschaert. You can say, oh, well, he lost by submission. No, he got dropped and then was submitted. They didn't record the knockdown, but he got lit up on the feet. He got dropped by Gerald Meerschaert and then submitted. He did smoke Brad Tavares about 6-8 months later. And then Brendan Allen dropped him and submitted him as well. So we're starting to see Bruno Silva's chin not really hold up. Brendan Allen, not the most powerful striker in the world, drops Bruno Silva. Gerald Meerschaert, not the most powerful striker in the world, drops Bruno Silva. Now we have one of the more dangerous strikers stepping up. I absolutely love Sharabutdin. I think he gets it done. I think we're getting a discount because he is a UFC debut. Certainly Bruno Silva can wrestle. He can out-grapple, and he could try to win himself a boring decision, but I do not see that happening, and I see Sharabutdin winning by knockout, and he may be worth that $8,600. Then we have Victoria Dudakova taking on Jinh Frey. I'm fading Victoria Dudakova at $9,200. I don't think she's worth it. We got the quick win bonus on her last time. The reality is she got a takedown very quickly, and as she got the takedown, Estela Nunes braced and her arm snapped in half. So it's technically a TKO. So she got the finish in the first round. She got the quick win bonus. She had a takedown. This is an inflated fake score because of a freak injury. I do think Victoria Dudakova wins this fight, and I think it's literally because she's just younger. She wants to come forward. She wants to get takedowns. She wants to work and grind and grapple. But she is fighting Jinh Frey. Jinh Frey is a tried and true veteran who is very big, very strong, has the grappling chops, and I think can make this a competitive 15-minute fight. She just lost to Elise Reed, but she had 3 takedowns and 4 minutes of control time. She was behind in the striking. She couldn't keep up in the striking. Polyana Viana did knock her out, and that was shocking because that is not something that happens to Jinh Frey. And then Vanessa Demopoulos managed to outwork. Vanessa Demopoulos just keeps sneakily winning these bullshit decisions. But if we work our way back, she's had some quality wins. Ashley Yoder's not a bum. Gloria DePaula's not a bum. Jinh Frey has had a rough go in the UFC. She's 5-2 2-5 in her official record. I do think she loses this fight, but I am not going to draft her opponent, Victoria Dudakova, at that $9,200 price point because I don't think she's going to finish Jinh Frey. And I don't think she's going to get that wrestling and all the control time, and I just don't think she's going to be worth that money. That's a high price point. I think a lot of this fight's going to be spent against the cage. I think Jin's going to get some of her own control time, and I think it's going to be kind of a back and forth fight. Then we have Nathaniel Wood taking on Mohammad Naimov. I mentioned it's a matter of which heavy favorites do you fade? We just faded Victoria Dudakova because I don't think she's going to cover her salary. I do think she wins, though. Nathaniel Wood might be the riskiest $9,000 plus fighter on this card. He's very skilled. He's a very good striker, clean, fast, to the point. He can work in takedowns as well. If we start at the bottom here, you'll see he started his career with 3 straight submission wins. He can fight. This guy can fight. This fight with Andre Fili, yes, he got a knockdown. He was also knocked down, and then he sucked it up, kept coming forward, and then managed to win that fight just literally with pure volume, and he got this one single takedown. He's fighting Mohammad Naimov. Mohammad Naimov jumped into the UFC on short notice, up a weight class, and played spoiler to Jamie Mullarkey. Don't get this wrong. He was very clearly losing this fight. He was taken down a handful of times, was getting controlled, but he was able to not get frustrated, land that big one-punch power, and knocked out Jamie Mullarkey. I think something similar could happen here. The problem with Nathaniel Wood is he's chinny. Yes, he survives and all those things, but he gets dropped more than you would like him to, and all of a sudden, he's a huge favorite against the guy that at 155 pounds was knocking people out. Now it's at 145. Overall, Mohammad Naimov is a well-rounded guy. He is going to strike. He can wrestle if he needs to. He's an athletic guy, old school martial arts. He's got some tools. Mohammad could win this fight, so if we're looking for underdogs, I think Mohammad's a spot at $9,200. I'm not going to spend $9,000 on Nathaniel Wood, who could, potentially squeak out a decision. Let's just take a look very quickly. Where the hell is he? Nathaniel Wood scored 87 points in a drag-him-out war with Andre Fili where he had a knockdown. If I spent $9,000, I want more than 87 points, and I don't think there's a knockdown in this fight because Naimov's young and still has a chin. So this is a 77-point fight if it's this exact same fight against Naimov without the knockdown. I'm fading Nathaniel Wood. He's probably one of the better favorites to fade. And again, when all of these fighters are expensive as hell, it's a little tricky to find your spots. Then we have Anshul Jubli taking on Mike Breeden. Anshul Jubli Pretty well-rounded guy himself. He's got some solid striking, solid grappling. He does a great job like exploding into takedowns. So even if it's not the most well set up shot, he's so fast. He runs right through stuff. It's hard for people to sprawl. He's got good fight IQ and very solid cardio. He's coming off this win here over Sergey, where he did get the second round TKO after a couple of takedowns and a whole shit ton of control time. And keep an eye on that, because that is the only reason I think he wins this fight. Why am I struggling to read names? Azaitar, Jubli, Breeden. There it is. Because he's taking on Mike Breeden. Yes, he's winless in the UFC. Yes, 2 of those 3 losses are stoppages. He's better than this. He is better than this. He's a decent striker. He's got decent rage control. He's got some power in his hands. Not really enough that later in a fight he's going to knock you out, but he does have some power in his hands. He is 0-3 in the UFC, and Terrence McKinney stepped up on short notice and absolutely starched him. I think this is going to look like this fight. Natan Levy took him down 9 times, but he still, I mean, look at this. The dude scored 62 points in a fight where he was taken down 9 times. Mike Breeden might be a solid underdog on this card. He might be overlooked, and he could potentially be a solid underdog that nobody is respecting. I still think Jubli wins this fight. This is a really tough fight to know what to do with in DraftKings, because I think Jubli wins this fight. And if he gets all the takedowns, like, yeah, we're talking about Mike Breeden scored 62 points here, but Natan Levy scored a ton of points. He had 9 takedowns and a whole bunch of control time as well. So honestly, I think Jubli is probably safe for a couple of your cash entries, but if you're building a large lineup to chase those big tournament paydays, you might want to look at a little bit of Mike Breeden, because he is very affordable at $6,900. And even in these losses, or this loss, he can put up some actual numbers because he scrambles and he throws out tons of volume. Then we have Abu Azaitar taking on SD Dumas. SD Dumas, betting-wise, is a good-size favorite here. 3-1 favorite. DraftKings-wise, salary-wise, they kept it a little closer to even, and I get that. That's where it should be. SD Dumas is a pretty well-rounded guy for the most part. He started his career as a street fighter, but he's worked his way to an actual professional MMA career. He's got decent grappling offensively, not defensively, but offensively decent grappling, and he's got some like solid, accurate striking as well. Mostly a striker, but he does have some power. Not necessarily knockout power, but there's more than one fight where he is shooting takedowns, picking up his opponent, and slamming them to the ground. He's 1-1 in the UFC. Josh Frim absolutely embarrassed him. Took him down, tossed him around, did whatever the hell he wanted to do. Absolutely embarrassed him. Cody Brundage was on his way to embarrassing him. Cody Brundage took him down in the first 3 seconds of that fight. And then Cody Brundage started pulling guard, trying to get a guillotine. It was stupid, terrible fight IQ, and just handed the win to SD, who still didn't do much. 17 significant strikes. Yeah, he scrambled a little bit. And this 11 minutes of control time is a bit misleading. There's 0 takedowns. 0. SD did not get a single takedown. This was literally Cody Brundage pulling guard, jumping guillotine, doing stupid crap like that. And that's the only reason he scored decently. I'm not trying to completely trash the guy. He is talented. He's very focused and he's tough. But I think he was handed a little bit of a gift in that last fight because Cody Brundage stepped up on short notice and made terrible decisions. He's taking on Abu Azaitar. You'll see the dates here. Fought in the UFC in 2018 and then again in 2021. This guy's very inactive. He's 36 years old, 37 years old. He definitely can get sloppy. This fight was 2 years ago against Marc-Andre Barrault. This was a great bet. You're going to see KO, TKO round 3. This was a great back and forth fight. Much closer than what that end result is. Dude was just exhausted. He comes forward. He fights like a brawler, even though he is well-rounded. But he's 5 years removed. 5 years removed from his UFC debut when he was like 31 and in the prime of his career. Only he's had 1 fight since then. So the reality is Abu Azaitar is a talented guy who at this age just wants to come forward, try to take your head off. That's what this fight with Marc-Andre looked like. And I actually think the person who lost to Marc-Andre can beat SD Dumas. Personally, I like Abu Azaitar. I have a little bit of a bet on him. I hate this DraftKings salary. $7,800. I was really hoping for a much bigger discount than that because, as I mentioned, in real life on the sports books, SD Dumas is a 3-1 favorite. Here, $7,800 to $8,400, that equates to like a -150, not a -300. So I still think Abu can win this fight. SD is younger, more accurate. He's going to be faster, all those things. But Abu is not soft. He's going to come forward, bomb away. Local fight for him, local-ish fight for him. So $7,800 is not the price point I was looking for. I would like a little bit better than that. But I still think Abu can win this fight. And depending on what the lineups look like, I may squeeze something in there. Then we have another very confident favorite, very confident pick that I'm probably going to fade in DraftKings. We got Javid Basharat taking on Victor Henry. Javid Basharat is very, very good and should dominate this fight. But by dominate, I mean score like this. 99 points in a one-sided beating against Mateusz Mendonca where he had 3 takedowns. 83 points in a one-sided beating against Tony Gravely where he had 2 takedowns. And 66 points in this UFC debut win for him. The reality is Javid Basharat's very good. He's a very good wrestler. He can strike as well. He is a weird in-between of patient, but still puts up numbers. 95, 80, 89 significant strikes. He's busy, but somehow patient as well. He's got great wrestling, can control range, and really implements his game plan. He can outstrike, he can outgrapple, he can do all of those things. I think he dominates this fight, but I don't think he's going to score that well because he had 3 takedowns and a little more than 5 minutes of control time with 95 significant strikes. Yeah, he put up 99 points, and if I spend 94, 99 is like, okay, like I covered my salary. But that's not necessarily good enough on a card like this where we have a whole bunch of very, very confident favorites that could potentially get finishes. He's taking on Victor Henry. Victor Henry is an interesting guy. He showed up in his UFC debut, short notice-ish, put up 222 strikes against 5-time Brazilian national champion wrestler Rani Barcelos. He won that fight with 114 points, literally off of significant strikes alone, essentially. But then he came out, and Rafael Assunção at 98 years old beat the shit out of him. He was a 4-1 favorite, $9,300, and just absolutely crapped the bed. Could not get it done. And then he beat Tony Gravely in a very close back and forth fight where he did get taken down a little bit. But again, here was that strike volume. I don't think he's going to get his strike volume with somebody like Javid, who's got great footwork. I do think Javid will get some takedowns. I think Javid wins this fight, but I think Victor's going to be harder to take down. So we're not going to get the extra 15 points out of takedowns and control time from Javid. I think Javid's going to control the outside, slow the pace, and win a striking match. So I'm not going to spend the money on Javid, but I do think he wins, and I am very, very confident in him as far as that is concerned. Then we have Trevor Peek taking on Mohammad Yahya. $8,200 Trevor Peek. I think you got to throw him in your lineup. And it's so funny because, again, I'm insanely confident in Javid Basharat and don't think he's a good fantasy play. I am not confident in Trevor Peek, and I do think he's a great fantasy play because Trevor Peek comes forward, absolutely bombs away. He has a chin he has Drew Dober's chin before Matt Favola found it. He's got good forward pressure, very good power in his hands, no wrestling defense whatsoever, and his skills aren't great. But he's an animal, and he's going to come forward. He's going to weather whatever you have to give him, and then he's going to give it right back to you tenfold. But he's taking on a UFC newcomer. He's taking on a local guy with a bit of a hollow record, Mohammad Yahya. Nothing here because this is his UFC debut. And when I was doing tape, I was really praying to God that Mohammad Yahya was going to have some takedowns. And if I saw even a half a takedown out of this guy, I was going to be all in on him to beat Trevor Peek because Trevor Peek showed us in his last fight he can't defend a takedown. And not that like he tried, but his opponent's such a good wrestler, which he is, that he just was doing the wrong thing. His hips it made no sense how Trevor Peek was trying to defend these takedowns. But Mohammad Yahya has no offensive takedowns, and Mohammad Yahya gets hit. You break down his tape, he's too patient when he's offensive. His defense isn't there. His hands are low. He gets hit. Trevor Peek's going to find that chin. Trevor Peek's probably going to knock him out, and we got a discount on him in fantasy. Betting-wise, not touching Trevor Peek. I don't think he's necessarily worth the money, but you're building a cash entry, even a tournament. Some exposure to Trevor Peek wouldn't be a bad thing. At the risk that you're spending, the money you're spending on him to the upside and what he could score, that ratio is absolutely phenomenal. Then we have the featured fight of the evening, Muhammad Mokaev taking on Tim Elliott. Muhammad Mokaev, insanely expensive at $9,600. He's covered his salary in every single fight. His last fight was the lowest scoring one, and that's because he only got 4 takedowns instead of the freaking 12. But that's also because he spent a little bit of that time praying that his knee wasn't going to snap in half. Jaffa Filio had his knee bending the opposite direction in a knee bar, but Mohammad was able to work his way out of it. He gutted it out. I don't know how. It was literally bent too far the other way, but he somehow gutted through that, was able to survive, and then ended up beating Jaffa Filio. He put up 99 points. If I'm spending 9,600 and I only get 99, I'm a little pissed. If I spend 9,600, I'm getting 120, 126. I'm good with that. Muhammad Mokaev is a nasty, non-stop come-forward wrestler. Non-stop wrestler. You can see that with the amount of control time he has, the amount of takedowns he has. Strikes, almost non-existent. He's just shooting, immediately wrestling. He is taking on Tim Elliott. Tim Elliott's a dirty, come-forward. Not dirty like, I don't mean that insultingly. This is a compliment. He's just a gritty guy. He's going to come forward, not dirty like eye poke, dirty like you can't get rid of him. He's going to keep coming forward, keep throwing punches, keep shooting takedowns. This win over Victor Altamirano, non-stop pressure, 6 takedowns, 11 minutes of control time. He put up 116 points. This was a Muhammad Mokaev fight. He fought exactly like Muhammad Mokaev. Non-stop forward pressure wrestling. Lots of control time, but not like true control time. Control time like hanging onto the leg, getting the takedown, holding against the cage, getting the takedown. Not like, literally on the ground clean because people keep standing up on him, which is why they get so many takedowns. This is like a young version of Muhammad Mokaev fighting an old version of Muhammad. Like Tim Elliott fights very similar to Muhammad Mokaev. Going to come forward, bomb away, wrestle. He will strike more than Muhammad will. You can see that in the Ulanbekov win. Obviously he lost to Mateusz Nicolau, but that dude is phenomenal. I mean, he's really put together some solid wins, and his losses are quality. Figueiredo, Askarov, Royval, these are quality losses. He went the distance with, where's he at? Joseph Benavidez. There it is, Johnson. He went the distance with freaking one of the greatest fighters to ever do it. So the reality is, Tim Elliott is very good, but he's older. He's a little slower. He's probably going to lose this fight. I am probably not going to spend the money on Muhammad Mokaev at $9,600 because Tim Elliott may just come forward and immediately start shooting. Because you know what Muhammad Mokaev has? 0%? Takedown defense. Every single person who has ever tried to take down Muhammad Mokaev has done it. Cody Durden took him down. He was taken down by Malcolm Gordon. Doesn't defend takedowns that well. I don't think he's expecting it. He's winning scrambles left and right. But somebody like Tim Elliott, who may just start diving on legs immediately and keeping his chin tucked, may be able to get some takedowns. And then even if he loses the fight, keep Muhammad Mokaev's score a little lower than what you would like at $9,600. So I'm not drafting either one of these men. But Tim Elliott at $6,600. Sorry, let's go back to him real quick. I mean, 44 points in this loss, 44 in this, 45 in this. All of a sudden, Tim Elliott may be a good underdog to throw in your lineup as a filler because he can put up some points in a loss. Main card opener, Said Nurmagomedov taking on Muin Gafurov. Said should win this fight. I'm not spending $8,800. He is a decision fighter. Yes, you're going to see, but he submitted Said Khabib Kakramanov. Yeah, he was getting the crap kicked out of him that entire fight and then was able to suck that in. So I thought it was the third round. Looks like it's the second round, so I misspoke in a different video. But he was taken down. He was controlled. He basically had nothing to offer until he just Hail Mary found that guillotine when Kakramanov shot with his head out a little bit. But Said Nurmagomedov should win this fight. He's a very good striker, long, rangy guy, can keep that range really well. He'll pick you apart in his feet. He can wrestle. He's not a wrestler, though. You're going to see the last name. You're going to make wild assumptions. He's not a wrestler. He did take down Jonathan Martinez 3 times. This is a loss. You could argue it should have been a win. His stats were phenomenal in that fight. He controlled some stuff, but he's very expensive here at $8,800, considering when he does win, 76, 59. Sure, that's a couple of high scores there, but I don't think that's going to happen here. 69 points against Scoggins. I think it's a decision fight because Muin is very tough and his decisions don't score very well. Muin Gafurov, yes, he has a loss to Sexy Mexi. Sexy Mexi beat him. Muin Gafurov is going to come forward. He's a wrestler who's going to plant his feet, bomb away, shoot a bunch of takedowns, forward pressure. He does have solid cardio. He gets sucked into brawls, which may not go his way in this fight against Said Nurmagomedov because Said's the much, much better striker. It's not even close. But if Muin on a full camp, after a full camp, keeps his cardio, keeps his pressure, comes forward, wrestle, he could have that same success that Kakramanov had and just try to avoid the submission. The loss to Sexy Mexi, this was on short notice, and John Castaneda was a Division I wrestler. Maybe it was Division II, but he was a high-level college wrestler. So Muin wasn't just going to come in here and take him down over and over like it was no big deal. Said Nurmagomedov, on the other hand, he may be able to do that. So Muin, very good fighter, hasn't really done that well just yet. He's had a loss on Contender Series as well. I think Said wins this fight. I don't know if he's going to cover his salary. We saw a whole bunch of 69-point decision wins out of him earlier. Then we have Ikram Aliskerov taking on Warlley Alves. I think Ikram is worth the money at $9,500 because he's a very, very good wrestler, an insane wrestler that's going to take you down, control the hell out of you, tons of scrambles, really nice escapes. He can hold you down. It's very hard for you to work your way out. He's got power in his hands. He just knocked out Phil Hawes. I will caution you, he was losing the striking exchanges and then landed a huge, huge strike to knock out Phil. But Ikram is a nasty wrestler that just happens to have power in his hands. He's taking on Warlley Alves. Warlley Alves is stepping up on short notice. Warlley Alves has trash cardio. He is 2-3 in his last 5. He lost a decision to Nicholas Dalby all the way back in January. He was knocked out by Jeremiah Wells. He beat Munir Lazez, which is a solid win, but that's because he's finding this power. He does have power. He will come forward. He will bomb away, but he's only throwing one single punch at a time. He only has a couple of minutes of cardio, and then he fades. So a short notice Warlley Alves, who doesn't have great cardio, I don't think is going to win this fight, and I do think he probably gets stopped, as he has been stopped in the past in all fames and fashions. He's been submitted, he's been knocked out, he's been outworked. He's lost every way you can imagine. He is a skilled guy, and he's not that old, but I just think Ikram Aliskerov is going to get this done, get it done inside the distance, and cover his salary. Then we have Magomed Ankalaev taking on Johnny Walker. This is another tricky one, $9,100. I'm very confident in him to win. He's a very good striker. He can wrestle as well. We saw the takedowns against Jan. We saw the takedowns against Krylov a few fights ago. I mean, this guy's beating everybody. He may be the most skilled guy in this division. He's a very good striker, will manage that range. He's a mixed bag of dangerous and not. For the most part, at this level, as he's working his way up, not. The answer is not. Even this Anthony Smith loss, this was a freak injury. Anthony Smith got hurt. He didn't beat the hell out of him and stop him. So the reality is, and he stopped Kutalaba. Sneeze too hard, Kutalaba goes down. Anyway, Magomed Ankalaev, one of the best guys in the division, fighting Johnny Walker, one of the more dangerous guys in the division. Johnny Walker, 6'6". He is fast. He's athletic. He hits hard. He can grapple. He can strike. He can do all the things. He's a little inconsistent. He moved in this couple of loss window here. He had moved to Ireland to train with SBG. And the reality is they ruined him. They took away what made him good. They took away the crazy. They took all that away. I understand honing it in a little bit, trying to contain it a little bit so you don't put yourself in harm's way. Even this Hill knockout was a little weird. The Santos fight. But these back-to-back fights, he just stared at people. Didn't do shit. 5-round fight. 48 significant shots. He didn't do shit in these fights. And it's because his gym is trying to change him. They're not letting him be him. They're trying to control him. That's not Johnny Walker. We need the crazy Johnny Walker to beat Magomed Ankalaev, because if he's controlled and he tries to out-technique the most technical guy in the division, it's not going to happen. I don't think Johnny's a good underdog at all, and Ankalaev is tricky because 96 in a win, 80 in a win, 77, 82. He's not worth it at the $9,100. Then we have co-main event of the evening. Co-main event of the evening. Kamaru Usman taking on Khamzat Chimaev. Listen, this is very tricky, DraftKings-wise. because you have the opportunity to get the second best welterweight of all time at $7,300 in DraftKings. That's a wild opportunity. $7,300 in DraftKings. I mean, even in this loss, 69 points. These are 5-rounders, but 69 points, 98 points in his wins. When was the last time he was under? You have to go all the way back to 2018 to get a win under 100 points. He's a beast of a wrestler. He's got very good striking, great jab. He's athletic. He's fast. He's strong. He's all the things. But he is old. He is stepping up on short notice. These back-to-back losses, obviously he was not 100 points in a loss is wild. Obviously, he was dominating Leon Edwards before getting knocked out with a minute left in the 5th round. And then here, I thought he won this fight, frankly. 4 takedowns, 5 minutes of control time, 87 significant strikes. He threw 113 or landed 113 strikes. I think he won that fight, but fine, let's say he didn't. The reality is Kamaru Usman is very, very good, and this is a great price for somebody as good as him. He's taking on Khamzat Chimaev. Khamzat Chimaev, yes, he's undefeated in the UFC. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wins, 6 wins in the UFC. This is his run that made him super famous. In a couple of months, he fought 3 times and had, a minute, 2 minutes, something like that, of cage time. I mean, that's an exaggeration, obviously. He went to the second round with Phillips here, but he had no problem stepping up on insanely short notice. Peak COVID, was just fighting back to back to back, getting out there. This was 10-day window, the 15th to the 25th. Showed up, got it done. Just 2 months later, boom, Gerald Meerschaert knocks him out almost instantly. Just smokes Jinh Lang. Gilbert Burns was a brawl. This was a straight-up brawl. It went to a decision, lots of back and forth. He did get 2 takedowns. He was dropped-ish, but he also dropped Gilbert Burns. Like, that was a back-and-forth war where he didn't seem to be the legend everybody thought he would be. Then he came out, fought Kevin Holland straight to the wrestling. Didn't even mess around with the stand-up. I think Khamzat wins this fight. I am not going to spend the $8,900 in DraftKings. I think there's too many questions. What's going to happen if he shoots his takedown and doesn't get it? What's going to happen if all of a sudden we have Kamaru Usman shooting takedowns? Nobody's shooting on Khamzat. What happens when Kamaru Usman shoots takedowns? Kamaru Usman's knee may or may not have popped. I don't think it did. You watch that audio on Twitter. It's going viral. So if you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, just search Kamaru Usman knee Twitter. Apparently, in the open workout, he took down Justin Gaethje. You can hear Justin Gaethje say, "Are you okay?" And then a lot of people think that Usman said something popped. That's not what I hear. But, do with that what you will. I'm not going to draft Khamzat Chimaev. And all of a sudden, Usman looks pretty good at $7,300, the second best welterweight of all time. I'm probably going to fade both sides, though. Main event of the evening, Islam, $8,700. Yes, please. I will take him in my lineup. The reality is, Islam Makhachev is a nasty wrestler with very good striking. He won some of these striking exchanges against Volkanovski in the last fight. He got 4 takedowns. Yes, it was a close fight. He was dropped. It was a close fight. But that was with a full camp. I think he underestimated. I think he assumed, like most of us did, that Volkanovski is going to be too small, not have what it takes. And Islam struggled a bit, but he also pushed through, managed to get it done. Unanimous decision. Wasn't a split. It was a unanimous decision across the board. I think he's going to come out. He's going to have an even heavier wrestle game plan. He was supposed to fight Charles Oliveira. He took down Charles, submitted Charles. I think he was going to be looking to do more of the same. Then they swapped his opponent. He remembers, it was a little hard to take this guy down. So I'm sure he intensified the wrestling, and they have a wrestle-heavy game plan. He's taking on Alexander Volkanovski, the second greatest featherweight of all time, could end up being the greatest featherweight of all time. You can make the argument that he is. I think Jose Aldo is probably the greatest featherweight of all time. But that aside, Volkanovski, one of the greatest featherweights of all time, pound for pound, one of the best fighters of all time. He's got cardio, he's got striking, he's got jiu-jitsu, he's got wrestling. He comes forward, he'll take you down, grind you out, he'll stand with you or strike with you. I mean, look at this. Holloway, 199 significant strikes. Ortega, 214 significant strikes. But then he fought a very, very dangerous striker, 7 takedowns, 7 minutes of control time. He's got incredible game planning, a wild skill set, can do what he wants to do to most people, but he is stepping up on short notice. Talk about weighing 180 some odd pounds, coming off the couch. I think Islam's going to come wrestle heavy. I think Volkanovski is just not going to be ready for it. I think he'll look good early. I think he will fade. It's going to be the first time we've ever seen him slow down. I like Islam to get it done. I like Islam in my DraftKings lineup because even if it somehow goes to a decision, which I don't think it does, but even if it goes to a decision, I think there's a lot of takedowns, a lot of control time, and he should score really well. Guys, become a premium member today. Join these people. $395,000 in winning tickets over the last 4 months alone, shared with us from our premium members, all with context. Thanks for this. Thanks for that. The optimizer built this lineup for me. This is insane. I've never won a contest before until now. You're going to get the optimizer. This is going to build lineups for you. You're going to get our detailed breakdowns of who should be in your cash entries, what your tournament entries should look like. You're going to get the ownership projections, the scoring projections, the leverage plays, and you're going to get so much more, all for $10 a month. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member.